Previous users. Hong Kong. The renminbi is the official currency of China and one of the world's reserve currencies. It is used in mainland China and formally in Hong Kong and Taiwan. The yuan. The renminbi is issued by the People's Bank of China, the monetary authority of China. Until 2005, the value of the renminbi was pegged to the US dollar. As China pursued its transition from central planning to a market economy and increased its participation in foreign trade, the renminbi was devalued to increase the competitiveness of Chinese industry. It has previously been claimed that the renminbi's official exchange rate was undervalued by as much as 37.5% against its purchasing power parity. However, more recently, appreciation actions by the Chinese government, as well as quantitative easing measures taken by the American Federal Reserve and other major central banks, have caused the renminbi to be within as little as 8% of its equilibrium value by the second half of 2012. Since 2006, the renminbi exchange rate has been allowed to float in a narrow margin around a fixed base rate, determined with reference to a basket of world currencies. The Chinese government has announced that it will gradually increase the flexibility of the exchange rate. As a result of the rapid internationalization of the renminbi, it became the world's 8th most traded currency in 2013, 5th by 2015, but 6th in 2019. On the 1st of October 2016, the RMB became the first emerging market currency to be included in the IMF's special drawing rights basket, the basket of currencies used by the IMF. The ISO code for the renminbi is NI, an abbreviation of Chinese yuan, as it is often referred to in international finance. Hong Kong markets that trade renminbi at free-floating rates use the unofficial code CNH. This is to distinguish the rates from those fixed by Chinese central banks on the mainland. RMB is not a currency code but is sometimes used like one in China. The currency symbol is, but because it is shared with the Japanese yen, CN is sometimes used. However, in written Chinese contexts, the Chinese character for yuan or, in formal contexts, usually follows the number in lieu of a currency symbol. Renminbi is the name of the currency while yuan is the name of the primary unit of renminbi. This is analogous to the difference between sterling and pound when discussing the official currency of the United Kingdom. The pound sterling, Zhao and Fen are also units of renminbi. In everyday Mandarin, Kuai is usually used when discussing money and renminbi or yuan are rarely heard. Similarly, Mandarin speakers typically use Mao instead of Zhao. Renminbi is sometimes referred to as the redback, a play on greenback, the casual term for the US dollar. A variety of currencies circulated in China during the Republic of China. The gold yuan and the silver yuan. The renminbi was introduced by the People's Bank of China in December 1948, about a year before the establishment of the People's Republic of China. It was issued only in paper money form at first, and replaced the various currencies circulating in the areas controlled by the communists. One of the first tasks of the new government was to end the hyperinflation that had plagued China in the final years of the Kuomintang era. That achieved a revaluation occurred in 1955 at the rate of 1 new yuan equals 10,000 old yuan. As the Communist Party of China took control of ever larger territories in the latter part of the Chinese Civil War, its People's Bank of China began in 1948 to issue a unified currency for use in communist-controlled territories, also denominated in yuan. This currency was identified by different names, including People's Bank of China banknotes, People's Notes, and finally, People's Currency, or renminbi, from June 1949. From 1949 until the late 1970s, the state fixed China's exchange rate at a highly overvalued level as part of the country's import substitution strategy. During this time frame, the focus of the state's central planning was to accelerate industrial development and reduce China's dependence on imported manufactured goods. The overvaluation allowed the government to provide imported machinery and equipment to priority industries at a relatively lower domestic currency cost than otherwise would have been possible. China's transition by the mid-1990s to a system in which the value of its currency was determined by supply and demand in a foreign exchange market was a gradual process spanning 15 years that involved changes in the official exchange rate, the use of a dual exchange rate system, and the introduction and gradual expansion of markets for foreign exchange. The most important move to a market-oriented exchange rate was an easing of controls on trade and other current account transactions, as occurred in several very early steps. In 1979, the State Council approved a system allowing exporters and their provincial and local government owners to